And today we've come here to outline indicators it's time to move to data center. And for this presentation, please welcome Douglas, our great consultant from our London office. Over to you, Douglas.
All right, thanks, Anthony. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining this session. So the main idea for today is to, for those that are currently using Jira Server and are thinking about if this is time to move and how to identify the limit for your Jira Server instance. So moving on, just to have a quick review on the agenda for today. So we just go over the deployment options. So that's just an overview on the server and the data center deployment options. After that, we're going to see actually the key indicators. So what are the points that we usually highlight related to whether the client should go to data center or not, also how to plan for that. Then we have, after that, 2 use cases from 2 clients that have reached us to help on these processes. And then after that, quickly, how we can help you to scale to data center. All right, so then, as Anthony said, at the end, we'll have some time for a Q&A session. So here we have, that's basically just an overview. So I assume that most of you are on the server version, or maybe if you are on cloud, thinking to go to the server version. So, and then on the next slide, we're going to see a simple diagram for the data center architecture. But the main thing here is just to outline what will be the difference between the server and the data center deployment options. So I get a lot of clients that usually they get they have a little bit of confusion on whether data center is how it is, like what actually it is. So it's a different application. What is the structure? Would I use the same thing as I use for server? So, and on the back end, Jira Server and Jira Data Center, they are essentially the same application. So it's not a different software developed by Atlassian. It's the same application, but it has the capability to scale, so you can actually have more than 1 node for the application. So server would be the Jira Server, Jira Service Desk on operating in 1 single node. And then we'll have data center that will be also not only with more than 1 node, but with a few other features that are we'll talk about later. So when we talk about this, having a server or having a data center, we think, all right, why Atlassian has done it. So server is a pretty good application. It can handle most of the scenarios for the clients. But as Atlassian was growing, it was large companies start adopting Atlassian at global scale. And Atlassian saw that the Jira in a single node wouldn't be able to handle all the demand for these clients, for these big clients. So they had to find a solution for that. So Jira itself, I believe that it has kind of a limit on how much you can increase your, let's say, hardware resources. You can have a really good administration, but still, depending on the way that you're using this, it's not going to be able to handle as well. You can have from the use cases that we're going to see, there are some clients that they operate in more than, for example, 5 instances or in different places because they started at different times and then they want to combine at some point, they want to consolidate. So they know that the server, a single node, wouldn't be able to handle all those requests combined. So that's why Atlassian came up with this option to add more nodes to the application. So then you could balance the requests between the servers. So it would allow the application to perform it better, right? So what we have after this, so just some points. So data center would be still self-hosted, so you still would have that on your server as the same way you have your server, or if you want to have that hosted on AWS or Azure servers, still as server we can do that as well. So having high availability, performance is much better on data center. So we're going to see some indication of that on the use cases, and then highlighting as well the multiple nodes that you can have, as many as you need. All right, so then we have, we get to the point that we are going to see what are the key indicators. So why should I move? Should I move? Is that the right moment? Should I wait? Or should I already be doing that, right? So that let's see some of those items. So here we have just a highlight for all those items. So first of all, when talking about the performance, so first thing that we think about is hardware limits. So is my server with enough CPU, memory, all the settings are right, the software, my system is on the latest version, so things like that. Then you have high availability. So how much Jira is important for your application? Do you need that up all the time, 24/7, or you can have some periods of outage? Version upgrades without service interruption. So this is the what Atlassian calls it as the zero downtime upgrades. I don't know if you have seen any of the features for the data center, but this is a very interesting one for clients that don't have the luxury to have Jira down for a few hours during the week or weekend. With Atlassian, with data center, you can do upgrades without having any outage, right? You can upgrade one node while the others are running in different version. So you can do node by node, and then at the end you have the application upgraded without having to shut down that completely. Also, another key indicator for that is the high concurrent users connection. So here we're talking about how many users you have at the same time on your application. Most of the clients, let's say if they have 1,000 user license, so let's say that have around 1,000 users using the application, but at the same time they would have like a peak of 100, 200. So that's not too bad, but in some cases, so let's say for it usually happens in the morning around 10 a.m. For example, we have teams doing their meetings. They are checking their daily Scrum, daily meeting. After lunch, they are reviewing some reports. So you have some spikes on the server because you have a lot of people accessing the application at the same time. So this is one thing that usually when it happens, it's clear that your application is not able to handle that, right? Then need performance optimization. So if you see that you have a lot of users complaining about performance, but you already have done all possible on hardware limit, already have cleaned as much as you could on your application, you have improved your administration side, try to keep it locked and don't do many changes. You have controlled number of plugins, but still the performance is not good. So this is the kind of thing that raise the question, all right, is the application able to handle what I have or not? So then between those items, we have that separated on this criteria, right? So first would be the users, so the usage. It's very common for the clients to start the application, let's say Jira or Jira Service Desk with Confluence, and then you start for your development software teams. So that will be, let's say, 100 people working on your company. And then the other departments see that they can make use of Jira and Confluence. So then they start adopting. So this is the kind of thing that the Jira administrators had to keep an eye open, because it's not very clear. We, as administrators, sometimes you're not aware of the business strategies, how much they want to grow, what tools they want to use. So this is a key point to always be careful, as you can have a massive growth in users in a short period of time, and then you see that your application is going to suffer on many aspects, especially performance. So then you go to performance. So let's say you have everything. Maybe you want that application that was being used for the development team, and more departments wants to start using that. You didn't change anything. You added a few plugins, but then you have a lot of people using that. Then you probably are going to have different plugins being requested. So you start adding that. So in like 6 months, 1 year, your instance is totally degraded on performance. So that's the kind of thing that you can't wait to it get to the point that you that users take 20 seconds, 30 seconds to load the page. You have to always be monitoring that and see if you are at the point that you have all settings optimized to handle that, or if that's the point that your Jira application can't be improved other than going to data center. Downtime, it's a very good point, especially for big clients that they have Jira as critical for the operations, right? So it's not something that you can simply say, all right, we need to upgrade, or we have some plugins to upgrade. I need to do some maintenance on the server. I need 2 hours to do that. I need 4 hours to upgrade my Jira. So then the business is going to say, no, I can't afford that. I have teams globally working 24/7 on the application. Every hour that I have the Jira down, I can't deliver my my services. So that costs thousands, hundreds, you know. So this is the kind of thing that you have to be aware. Sometimes, as if you are just Jira administrator, you don't think much about of that aspect, but you need to start thinking about this one when you are working for large companies. This time is money, right? So then whenever you have a downtime, you have some costs on it. So you have teams standing by waiting for the application to come up so they can continue their tasks. So downtime is not only for the Jira upgrade, it's for any kind of scenario that happens. So let's say server crash, or you have some plugin that start acting up or something like that, and the application went down, or even because of performance, it's so overloaded that the server can't handle that, and then it goes down. So what do you do on those cases? So this is the kind of thing, how much that would be affecting your application, your organization, if you have the application down. And then the last one is the administration side. If you have one large instance, to manage that, it's already a big task. If you have an instance that's not healthy, so let's say you have performance problems, you have bugs that you need to, with plugins that you need to be handling, you have to think about how to do the upgrades. It's always a nightmare. So you need to first have everything at best. So let's say you're having your governance for the application very well defined. You have to have a clean instance, so always trying to get rid of things that you're not using anymore, for example, custom fields, or making sure that users are using the filters correctly, so they are using the tools as the best practice recommends. So at this point, let's say, imagine that some organizations, they have 2, 3, 5 instances, one for each specific area. They grow very fast, and you have to manage all the requests for all of those instances, and also you have to worry about licenses as well, right? Each instance will have their own licenses, so you have always to be looking at those, including the prices for those. So it's really when it becomes too hard to do this kind of thing, you need to start thinking about on how to scale your administration capacity. So just for you to have some more details as well, we're going to go through some use cases after this one, but just for you to know, we have on our website white paper that has some good information about performance at scale. So it has some test results for some POC that we have done with more than 10 million issues on Jira Data Center. So you'll have some performance indicators, also some recommendations on how to do this process to scale or instances, so it's able to handle all your demand, right? So I highly recommend you to go to our website, valiantys.com, and have a look on this white paper. Okay, so now I think that will be useful, because I always have clients asking, all right, should I go to data center? Is there a limit on Jira Server that I really need to go? Well, this is not an easy question. It's not something that we can say, yeah, go to data center easily, because it really depends on the way that you use. I've seen some cases that clients have an instance with 1 million tickets and it's still performing right. And some cases they have 500,000 tickets, and it's totally problematic. It's slow. You have clients complaining about that. So that's really case by case situations, or where you have to analyze what's happening there. So we'll have now 2 use cases where we are going to point what happened for those clients and why they decided to go to data center. Right? So the first one, this is for international banking group. So you can imagine that would be global teams working for this group. So loads of different actions happening, and a lot of instances running separately. So just imagine how difficult it is to the company to manage everything. So then we will break this into 4 items. That will be how they started with Atlassian tools, how was the growth for them, and then challenges that they faced when they saw those instances growing so much, and then what were the solutions that were applied to them. So the first one, what happened for this banking group? They started using Jira for the software development teams, right? So they started with Jira, Confluence, and then at that point they had Fisheye and Pressable as well. So it started with for the software development, and then that became very that gained visibility in the company. So more teams started to use the application, right? So they adopt Atlassian tools as the main applications for the software development teams. So for this client, after roughly 3 years of use, the instance, it was not only for one of the locations that they have, but that became global. So imagine all development teams around the globe using the same application. They started with 100 users, so rather a small group, and then today, that would be 7 years later, they have around 20,000 users, right? So it really became from a small team to the whole global group using this application. So I don't know, for some of you that's what's happening. You are seeing that your company is adopting Jira globally, and so you can foresee that the number of users is going to grow exponentially. So for this company, they started so just for these software development teams. So then in 2015, they had already 1,000 projects, and that was growing really, really fast. In last year, 2018, they went up to 8,000 projects in the application. So this, you can see how much they were using, and imagine the amount of things that they had to archive, right? So we know that the server instance today, it doesn't have an archiving option. So imagine the nightmare for the administrators to handle all those projects that were being created, projects being decommissioned, all the overhead on the Jira index, right? So with all those informations. And this is something that happens, is still going on. It's not something that they reach the point and say, okay, that's fine for projects. They have basically at least 3,000 projects being created every year. So it's really something that they needed some solution to make Jira handle that, right? So for this instance, they have seen when they saw all the these numbers of users growing, they saw all the projects growing. So they found themselves on a situation that they had users very dissatisfied. So imagine the company adopts an application, and then at some point they see that users they don't like to use the application because it's so slow that they can't perform their tasks, right? So this became really a big problem for the application. So they needed to find some way of growing. So you can imagine that just growing, increasing hardware capacity, or having a better server, a better database server, it wouldn't fix the problem. It could have some relief on the usage, but still it would reach a point that it doesn't handle anymore. So then they decided to, a solution for their application. They trusted Atlassian since the beginning, so they decided to go to data center. So in 2017, they decided to move Jira, Confluence, and Bitbucket to data center version. Right? So they had now all those instances moved to the data center model, and with that they solved the problem on performance. Also, they resolved the problem for the service interruption. So they didn't now they don't need to worry about if they need to upgrade, if they need to fix something on the server. They can do that on node by node. And that's not going to have the application down. And also, as I mentioned before, the archiving projects option that is available on the data center version was essential for them. So you can see that easily, not because only the amount of projects that were created, but the banking group decided that this would be global. So this is the kind of thing that triggers users to move to data center as well, because the business decision is to use for everyone, so they go for that option for everyone, and then you can easily see that Jira needs to go to data center. Right? It's the only option. Right, so then the next one, it's a telecommunication leader. So this, it's a little bit bigger than the other one. So it's good to see. Sometimes we imagine that, let's say that you have 10,000 users and see, wow, I'm not sure if Jira is able to handle all my requests, right? So it's maybe too much. So it's good to see some examples of really huge clients, so you can get confidence that Jira will be able to handle your demand. So same thing for this one. We are going to go through those items. So for this company, it's a company with 150,000 employees. And also they have millions of customers, right? It's just telecommunications, so they have everywhere. It's a company that is usually, wherever they are leader in the market. So you can imagine how demanding it would be, the usage for Jira. So this one started as the same other one. It started as software development teams tool. This company, they were very flexible with their teams. They let the teams decide which tools they wanted to use. So they decided to choose Jira. So they decided to use Atlassian tools. But what happened for them was each team, some of them were working together, but some of them, they decided to have their own Jira instance, right? So they got to a point that they had that's really funny, because it's something that we don't imagine that it's possible, but they got to a point that they had 60 Jira instances in it was back in 2016. So imagine a company this size having 60 Atlassian 60 Jira instances. Imagine how was that to manage all the licenses, all the requests from the users, all the administration that was required for that. So they decided, they had like 3 teams, the major teams. They decided that they want to, they saw that they were using Jira, but they were not collaborating on only one instance. So they saw that it was difficult for them to work with different applications different instances. So they decided to go for consolidating the instance. So they decided to move to one thing and make it easier for them to administrate that and then use that between the teams. What happened for them? Then they decided they got this instance and made that for those 3. So they are using Jira. They have Confluence and also Service Desk as well on this main instance. So they use for all those software development projects. They use for agile methodology. As they are really big, they were using Safe Framework as well. So it was very fast. From if we compare from the beginning, it started with 400 users, and then at some point it was in 2016. So in 2017 they have more than 1,000, and then that just started growing. So they had more than 6,000 users in less than 2 years. Right. So early this year, they already have, like, from beginning of this year till now, they have already more than 1,000 users added to the application. So you can see that's growing really, really fast. So the challenge that they had, they started seeing an increase on the users. They started seeing the projects going up, and then they noticed that the performance was acting up. So the performance degrading was happening, and then they had to do something, right? So at some point that you get the application that's so vital for your organization, you cannot let it go. You can only see how can you scale that, right? So they have done all that they could to keep the server instances, but then at some point they saw that, right, that's too much for the application to handle. It's too much for us to administrate. these separate instances, or the big one, the consolidated one. And they have, at that time, they had 2 Jira admins. So imagine the headache that they have at that time. So what they decided to do to fix that problem for them was to have Jira moved to data center. So that was the main move that they decided to do. Jira was for data center, upgraded to data center with multiple nodes. And also this required a lot of preparation. But one thing that we can highlight, once you have your application, let's say you have multiple applications, you promote one to data center, and then it's easier for you to then consolidate the other ones. So for this one, they had a lot of preparation, seeing, okay, which instances we are going to combine, what we're going to do with those. Let's promote one to data center, usually is the biggest one. And then with that, that's what they decided to do. And after some time of preparation, they had it moved to data center like in 1 day, because they had that level of maturity to test everything, decide the order of consolidations for the tools, and then moving up. So the other part of the solution that they have was to reduce the number of upgrades. So they decided to go always for the enterprise versions. So they before were probably trying to catch up with the Jira versions, and then when they went to data center, they decided to do only enterprise releases. So that means once per year, twice per year upgrade. And also because of the size of the instance, they had a lot of plugins. They decided to handle that to Valiantys to help them on the licenses management. So currently, Valiantys take care of the licenses for this client. So we can always highlight to them when it's time to renew, what are the options that they have, so how they can do that efficiently, right? So this, for them, moving to a multi-node architecture gives them the scalability that they have. They solved the performance problems, and also they went to, whenever they need, they just add more nodes. So today it's easier for them to increase whenever they want. Right. So also they benefit from the not having interruptions on the service, which is vital for them. Okay. Then we have here how we help clients to do that transition, right? So we have clients that they are reaching a point that already they are suffering for the performance degradation, or they see that the organization is growing fast and they need to plan something for like a 6 months, 1 year period to have that instance able to handle the growth. So what we usually do, how we help the clients, we do a review on the current installation. So we go to the client site, we do what we call an audit on Jira. We see how it is, how is the all aspects on infrastructure, usage, administration, governance, integration. So we can do like a health check and see, okay, what you can fix first, and what's the recommended action, if it's actually just have everything set on your Jira server, or it's really going to data center. Then we do a report on all those on that audit with all the points that we have discussed during the audit. We will document everything that happens with the client and see if there's something that can be improved to make it more efficient on the tools usage. Also, we'll see what's the current architecture, and then seeing if there's anything that you can change at this moment. If that's to go to data center, we'll recommend what's the best architecture. So let's say we're going to have 1 node extra. So let's say you operate on 2 nodes, or depending on the demand you have, you need to prepare to having 3 or 4 nodes to be able to handle everything. So we are going to according to the audit, we can see like a projection on how much is going to grow, what you need to improve, and then we can make suggestions, recommendations on what the architecture is. And then at the end, after doing this, all these steps before, we can get to agreement and say, all right, this is what we think that's the best solution for your company. If everything goes right, we then do a plan for deploying the data center. Right? So this is something that really is going to help you all to go through the processes in a clear way. So the users will be understand what's happening for the with the tool. Your stakeholders are going to be able to see what's the benefit for that change, and then for the administrators, they will be able to benefit from all the features that we have for data center. And so this will be the key points for doing that move for the application.